Hello, everybody. I'm Phil Brandt, President and CEO at AAIM Employers Association, and welcome to This Week at Work.
Welcome to the only show about the workplace that offers you front row seats and a microphone, bringing you practical, timely, and accurate insight so that you can more effectively lead your organization. It's Thursday, May 18th, episode 231. Today, we're excited to bring you an AAIM Member Spotlight, Julio Govreau, Vice President of People Operations at LaunchCode. To earn customers for life, it takes more than a good deal on products or services. So it's no surprise that it takes more than a good paycheck to earn employees for life. We'll ask Julio to let us in on how he's earning accolades on his approach. And you know what? You can ask too. If you haven't already, submit your questions now. All this and more on This Week at Work.
All right, welcome back, and thank you for joining us today. Bert, tell us how you're doing. You've had some exciting travel for this last week since we were together on Thursday, and you were joining us bright and early at, what is it, 5:30 your time out on the West Coast.
I did. I was out in San Diego, in my favorite state, joking, of California. And
I know you love California.
I do. I love it there. We had a great program, Ogletree's Workplace Strategies program, with about 80 sessions and close to 600 attendees, and another couple hundred folks from Ogletree who were presenting and making everything happen in the background. And we'll talk a little bit about what I learned from the EEOC while I was there. And and then I had to come back to the great Midwest and went up to Madison, Wisconsin for my son's graduation from the University of Wisconsin this past weekend. It was a great time and very proud of him.
Wow, great job. Great job. I'm really proud of your son. I know your daughter and son both are done with their first cycle of school, and maybe there's more to follow in the lineage of the Garland family tree, but congratulations to you and your family. Those are always big landmarks to achieve.
I appreciate that, Phil.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You ready to do lawyer on the clock here?
Let's get into it.
All right, here we go. Ready? Let's roll it, Nick.
All right, it's time to look into what's trending in employment law. Lawyer, you're on the clock.
All of our friends in Illinois, get ready for another new Illinois law. This week, a new law has been sent to Governor Pritzker's desk for signature. In this
so you don't have to go all the way to California, Bert, just to have some fun and exciting labor law practices.
That's exactly right, Phil. And they, not coincidentally, they follow similar pay transparency measures passed last year in California and New York. Our friends in California and New York on the coast leading the way. And then now Illinois is following. And this new law would take effect if he signs it, and all indications are that he is going to sign it. It will take effect January 1 of 2025. So not anything we need to worry about in the short term, but January 1, 2025, and it applies to businesses with 15 or more employees. And basically, this law is like the other steadily spreading salary range disclosure laws that are aimed at improving pay equity, helping women and workers of color avoid being underpaid relative to their white male coworkers. We know Colorado, Washington State, New York City, and a handful of other local governments have enacted similar laws requiring salary information in the job ads. Other states, including Connecticut, Maryland, Nevada, and Rhode Island, require companies to provide salary information to job applicants upon request or at specific points in the hiring process. Hawaii lawmakers have also passed a bill requiring salary range in job ads earlier this month, sending it to their governor for signature, and other proposals are pending in DC, Massachusetts, Michigan, and New Jersey. So get ready, Illinois employers. January 1, 2025, you are going to have to put salary ranges in your advertisements for your jobs over there.
Yeah, that I don't know that I have a problem with it. I understand the intent of that. The challenge I have is the difference for each state is going to just really make it hard on people like Julio, our guest today, for the vice president of people operations from LaunchCode. And it just really makes it really hard. And now what we have job boards doing through artificial intelligence is they're creating their own ranges if you don't post the range. And that creates huge problems. Just feels fundamentally wrong because it creates an anticipation that may not be anywhere near the truth. But more to come, but that does not take effect until 2025 if it
Correct.
gets signed.
That is correct. And
What do you think the chances are the governor of Illinois will sign that?
Is there 120%?
There's only 100%. It's not possible
all right.
more than that, but we'll
All
go
right.
with 100%.
All right, fair enough. So speaking of AI, Phil, we at our conference, Ogletree's conference last week, we had a great guest speaker. One of our keynotes was is a guy named Andrew Rogers. He's the chief counsel to the EEOC Commissioner Andrea Lucas, and he spoke about AI. We're actually going to try to get Andrew on the program. I had dinner with him when I was out in San Diego, and he's agreed to come onto our program and give us some insight as to what's going on at the EEOC. And basically the EEOC, as I've said before, has sort of taken the lead of the governmental agencies on the use of artificial intelligence. And what they're doing is they're really looking at scrutinizing AI and issuing guidance on AI tools beyond the Americans with Disabilities Act. Right now, they've kind of been focused on the ADA, but they're definitely going to be looking at expanding the guidance that they offer into other areas. And he presented some interesting statistics. And actually, we have some of these statistics from our benchmarking that we've done of key decision makers. 20.7% of employers use elements of artificial intelligence for recruiting and hiring purposes. That's a 2% increase from last year's survey. The EEOC's position, though, is that more than 80% of employers may be using AI tools to perform work or make employment-related decisions. I think that number is probably a little bit high, but interestingly, just keep your eyes on the EEOC as it relates to AI. Also, interestingly, New York City has adopted final rules for laws governing automated employment decision tools, the use of AI in employment decisions. So this is definitely a hotbed of activity around the country.
Yeah, and my guess is it probably depends how you identify what actually AI is.
Yes.
That difference between 20% and 80%.
Yep.
From that standpoint.
Nick, we've got a couple of videos teed up. While it's not necessarily exactly artificial intelligence for decision making, in the tight job market that we see, especially in the restaurant and retail industry, I know we're seeing layoffs in other sectors of the economy, but restaurant and retail cannot hire enough people still. And when they do hire, they are having to hire at frankly what are exorbitant rates of pay. And I've been talking on the program for several years now about what businesses' response is going to be to the high pay rates and the lack of workers in this particular sector. Nick, can you roll one of these, the first of these two videos? That video is from a restaurant called Spice that is now merged with the restaurant called Sweet Green. And what that shows is their fully automated restaurant that they're checking out or starting to feature out in kind of our great state of California out there, where will really just be one employee on site to handle questions from customers and to make sure the machinery is operating properly. But that is a fully automated restaurant. And then Nick, can you tee up the last one? It's only about 20 or 30 seconds here.
What's up, guys? This is McDonald's first automated restaurant with no workers, and I'm going to show you how it works.
So when you walk in, there's no one working at the counter, and you order whatever you want on the screen. Sometimes they have these robots going around bringing your food to you, and if you want to go through the drive-thru, you just order ahead online. Then just pull up to this special lane in the drive-thru, and this is how they deliver the food to you. So what do you guys think? Do you like this new system or no?
There was no bun or no meat on the bun there. That's
It
funny.
got his order right. If you saw what he ordered, that's what he ordered.
Oh, I get it. I get it.
Artificial intelligence. All right, so that's just a couple little video snippets of what you might start to encounter at fast food restaurants across the country, and just be prepared. I've always said that business has a response when you start taking jobs that are minimum wage jobs that are $7, $8 an hour, and start paying employees $15, $20 an hour to do jobs that don't really require any specialized training or anything like that. Business is going to have a response to it, and we're starting to see that. Also, that will implicate, of course, some issues related to artificial intelligence. So we're going to get kind of worlds colliding here in the next few years as we start to see machinery taking over inside restaurants. That's what I got for you on Lawyer on the Clock. That was pretty close to 6 minutes.
Hey, I think you did a great job today. That might be your best score yet, Bert, and good information that you're bringing back from your conference. I know it's a huge effort for Ogletree, and I know it's a wonderful conference. That 80 sessions is quite a bit, and maybe someday in the future we'll bring a busload or plane load from St. Louis to attend that.
That'd be great.
All right, let's introduce our poll questions real quick, and then we're going to get to Philburt's Forum. So we always want to hear from you. This always makes the program a little bit more personal, and it gives you information to go away that you can use to run your business. So first of all, what we'd like to hear is what % of your workforce is currently working remotely? We continue to hear more and more people are coming back to work. So what % of your workforce is currently working remotely? The second question here is, of the workforce working remotely, on average, how many days a week are they remote? I continue to hear that more employers are having a scheduled back in the office prescription, number of days back in the office. And then finally, my favorite is the word cloud, which is, how do you feel about communication in your organization? How do you just feel about? What's your opinion of that? Put it into one simple word and share that with us, and we'll get back to those results shortly. Ready for some Philburt's Forum, Bert?
Let's see it.
All right, Nick, roll it.
You've just entered Philburt's Forum, where we peel the onion back and take a lighter look at the workplace.
We lost him. Just got away from us, I'm sorry.
And that's when the family realized that George Sr. wasn't dead, but was fleeing the country that he loved so very much.
How's my son?
He's going to be all right.
Oh,
Thank God. That's a great attitude. I gotta tell you, if I was getting this news, I don't know that I'd take it this well.
but you said he was all right.
Yes, he's lost his left hand, so he's going to be all right.
You son of a bitch! I hate this doctor!
That's more the way I would take the news.
Oh, this guy again.
Looks like he's dead.
Oh my God!
Oh, little guy. The tears aren't coming. The tears just aren't coming.
Just to be clear, it looks like he's dead or he is dead.
It just looks like he's dead. He's got like blue paint on him or something. But he's going to be fine.
What is wrong with you?
I like those. You know, I think what I can relate to is the one scene where the lady goes, "Oh, this guy again." I feel like that's the case when I walk into the room and we have an audience. I feel like people are going, "Oh, it's this guy again." But that's a classic communication gone wrong video. Great job there, producer Nick. And we know none of that happens with our friends at LaunchCode, because they are under the direction of Julio Govreau, who is just a fantastic people operations vice president and does a wonderful job leading one of our members. And he is our guest today as we have a member spotlight. Julio, welcome to the program. You're our first member spotlight, a new segment for us, and we're really happy to have you on the program today.
Thank you for having me, Phil.
Yep. So Julio, tell us first just a little bit about LaunchCode and yourself and how you found yourself working at LaunchCode.
Absolutely. So I have the privilege of working as the Vice President of People Operations. That's what we call HR internally in our organization. And a couple of things I wanted to mention as far as the great value that we provide our customers or our students is we provide free technical training for individuals that have passion, drive, and have an aptitude to launch their career in IT. We also have free job placement services for our candidates. So more than 80% of our LaunchCoders apprentices are offered a permanent job. And lastly, we work with our business partners as far as our model, allowing us to cultivate broad and diverse tech talent for the hiring companies as far as building their futures. So I get to be part of all of that in my day-to-day role as the Vice President of People Operations.
So Julio, for those who are not familiar with LaunchCode, is LaunchCode, it's a national organization or is it a local organization?
We are a national organization. Our headquarters is based out of St. Louis, but we also have an office in Philadelphia and an office in Kansas City as well. So we are in over 26 states.
Yeah, fantastic. And with LaunchCode and your technical training organization, meaning that you really focus in the space of IT programming. Tell us a little bit more about what you're not teaching welding.
No.
No. Okay. So tell us where you focus in on the technical side.
So we help people code. There's different classes that people can take with our organization. And I'm glad you asked that question because I wanted to give you two stats that I'm very proud of as part of being a member of LaunchCode. We have launched over 3,200 careers across the nation that have provided free skill-based training, and we have provided classes for over 10,000 driven professionals as well. So
fantastic.
Very happy about
an accomplishment. That. And you're a not-for-profit organization as well.
Correct.
Fulfilling that mission. Yep. And tell us a little bit about how do people find Launch? Is it I send my code to get training, or is it something where people are coming there to gain a skill to discover employment?
Correct. So you would go to launchcode.org and then look at our website to find out what particular class you're interested in, and then we would train you on how to code for that particular skill set. So that way you go through our course, you graduate, and then a different team supports the candidate as far as being an apprentice, and you would be placed in an apprenticeship with one of our business partners. And at that point, you are an employee of LaunchCode, and we provide you with benefits and pay time off. And so our typical apprenticeship is an average of between 6 months and a year. And typically after that, you get transitioned over internally to an employee of that placement company. So there's a transition that you would go to being a student, that we would pay for everything as far as your training. We would place you somewhere else at no cost to the apprentice, and then help you transition internally to that role with that placement company.
No, that's fantastic. And those are some big numbers that you've helped people in the communities that you serve for sure. Now, tell us a little bit more about yourself, Julio, and what is it that you enjoy about the human resource profession? Why are you at LaunchCode? And what are some of the challenges that you're facing there at LaunchCode?
Great question. So the reason why I'm very passionate about HR is because this job, there's always something that you can help someone else with every day. It's never the same. And also making sure that you're a resource for the people that you help, but also a resource for the organization as well. And so, as you mentioned, as far as challenges, I think as an HR professional, my duty also is, many of my duties is to make sure that there's a lot of alignment with the services and benefits that we provide our employees. Right now, with coming off from the pandemic, we're seeing a lot of levels of anxiety, stress, things of that nature. And I want to also be very cognizant of not only taking care of the professional, but the entire individual as a whole. And that's why I'm very proud of the benefits that we have offered and have expanded. So that way we're taking care of the entire individual, and they can really bring in and hone in all of their talents and continue to move our organization forward.
So in that case, and I know a little bit about the organization, I know you provide, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but 100% paid benefits for your employees. How did you get to the decision that, that's an important thing for us to do? How was that decision process for the team at LaunchCode?
So last year, we deployed our employee engagement and opinion survey, and we received a lot of great data. We had over 6% participation from our employees. And one of those critical data points was communication and also our overall benefit package. So we really paid attention. If we were going to deploy an instrument like this and have people share their opinions and perspectives with us, we take that very seriously. So I sat down with the executive group and I said, look at all this great information, specifically on how we communicate, but more importantly, also how we help our employees with their benefits. And one of the things that was really important to us is we wanted to make sure that we were providing the right amount of benefits for our employees. So that way we help with retention and engagement. We have very talented individuals, and the number one asset of LaunchCode is its talent. So we want to make sure that we take care of our talent. So we decided to increase our premiums as far as 100% coverage for our employees, 75% coverage of premiums for dependents. And that was huge because that's one less thing someone at LaunchCode has to worry about. So that way they can focus on the great things they're doing at work.
Yeah, that's a fantastic benefits. And I know many of us, and I'm going through it right now, looking at benefit renewal because we do a mid-year renewal. And it's really always that balance of what does the company absorb versus what does the organization absorb. But it sounds like there was a decision process along what you do and care for your employees and matching that with the benefit side. You had to choose where you were going to place your money, and you placed it in that space of benefits. Was that a tough decision for the team, the team that you work with, the leaders of the organization, to get their head around? Was there debate in that decision?
We did have some discussion, but at the end of the day, we kept reminding ourselves, is this the right thing to do? And when we look at our assets, as far as our talent at the organization, this was the right thing to do. And we thought of it not as a more money being spent, it's more of an investment for our future. So when we talked about it from that perspective, it just made total sense to give our employees 100% premium coverage. So that way, again, they can focus on doing the great things that they do. And that way our talent stays with LaunchCode a little bit longer.
Yeah. So I recognize that one of the missions of LaunchCode is to take individuals from the community that have a passion in the programming space, IT space, help give them the right skills, and then provide them to the employers, make them available to either be hired or contracted with to help with their needs. With that, how many people do you work with on a regular basis? Is there an average payroll or employee size that you traditionally have? Let's just say here in St. Louis or in Kansas City. We don't have many listeners from Philadelphia, but we do in Kansas City and St. Louis.
Absolutely. So our internal employee count is 57 right now. So we're growing. As far as our apprenticeship numbers, those do fluctuate throughout the year. Right now, we're about at 120, but they can go as high as 200 or more. It depends on our business relationships with our business partners. So our workforce there, as far as our apprentices, which are our own W-2 employees, that grows. And it's a segment that continues to grow for us throughout the year. So that's why I'm so excited about being able to support them behind the scenes as those numbers continue to increase.
All right. What I always like to do is get a look at our survey results as they're coming in. And I'd like to get Bert and maybe your opinion on some of these results. Nick, can you share some of those survey results that are coming in with us?
Yeah, I would actually like to start with the word cloud because those are always fun. So here we go.
All right. So if we take a look here, it's, I think the good is the number one word, or needs improvement might be the number two word. I mean, that's in quite contrast with each other. Intentional, that's good. I think that can be a positive as long as it's authentic, can be intentional and authentic. And spotty, slowly improving fits a lot of organizations I'm familiar with as well. And communication is one of those things that's really difficult to get right because we all receive it and deliver it different ways. What is it that you do at LaunchCode, Julio, to ensure you have good communication?
Great question. So one of the things that came out of the employee and opinion survey was that we wanted to continue to be very transparent throughout our organization. So one of the things that we did was we created 2 work groups that helped us give us even more specific feedback on that. So one of the things that leadership did as a commitment is every Monday morning, the leadership group meets from 9 to 10:30 in the morning. And after that, we have an action item of summarizing our notes for the week or the past week. We make that information available to our employees. It's not something that is secretive. It's not something that's put in a very confidential folder. We share it out there so that way employees know what leadership is talking about. And that way we also share some updates during our Tuesday morning all staff meetings. So that's one way that we try to be as authentic and transparent as possible with our organization.
Yeah. Do you think you would have gotten to where you're at with the benefits and the communication and some of the other employee relation initiatives you have without doing the employee survey? Or was that an absolute necessary step for you?
I think it helped us out because it was a structured way in regards to gathering a lot of information where people felt comfortable delivering that. And then also one of our core values is respect. So we can have a conversation at any time and sit down and hear each other out as far as any concerns, suggestions, or just having a conversation about what can we do to move the organization forward. So I think it was a combination of both things as far as our culture, where we do that already, and then having a very specific way, a mechanism. So that way we gathered all this information and then we reviewed it and then we shared it out quite a bit after the results. So it was a combination of both things.
Okay. I'm getting a question here. Is LaunchCode available for people who are already employed but are wanting to learn the programming skill set? Is that an avenue through LaunchCode?
Yes, please send a request or email to info@launchcode.org, and then someone will connect you as far as options when it comes to looking at potential opportunities for you. Absolutely.
Okay. So what lies ahead for LaunchCode? What are the things that you're going to be working on as you go forward over the next couple of years?
So great question. One of the things that I'm very excited from an HR perspective is we're going to really focus in on making sure that we continue to develop our talent and prepare for the future. As we were talking about earlier with the landscape being out there very competitive, we want to make sure that we continue to focus in on employees reskilling or upskilling as far as we're in a technology organization, so we want to make sure that our talent is focused in on that. And the other thing too is making sure that we provide infrastructure for all that. We're in the process of making sure that our technology matches the needs of our workforce, so that way we make sure that we are helping everyone with their development, and then also making sure that we're being efficient as far as the services that HR is providing.
Yeah. All right. That is fantastic. And I know, that's working current issues and working on the future is always a difficult challenge for many HR professionals, just due to staffing levels and all the other, complications of the role. And sometimes it's an extremely thankless job. What I want to do is go back to the poll question. There's a couple more results that we didn't get to here. I think the next one that we might have here, Nick, is what % of the workforce is currently working remotely? And the largest % of respondents here is 54% saying 0%. The next group is saying, about 25% of the workforce working remotely. What do you have at LaunchCode? What do you all do?
So right now we are a hybrid work schedule. We do come into the office Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and then we can work remotely Wednesdays and Fridays, which gives us a lot of flexibility as far as our employees, because our headquarters is in St. Louis, but then we have our two hub cities in Philly and in KC, and people really have been enjoying that flexibility as far as working from home and then also coming into the office as well.
Julio, I'm not quite sure. We on this program like to chat about our friend out in California. Well, I guess now Texas, maybe Elon Musk. And just yesterday, Elon Musk gave an interview where he said, he basically said, I'll just read the quote. It's a productivity issue, but it's also a moral issue. People should get off their blank moral high horse with the bull stuff, because they're asking everyone else not to work from home while they do. It's wrong. He said, it's like, really? You're going to work from home and you're going to make everyone else who made your car come work in the factory. You're going to make people who make your food that gets delivered, they can't work from home. The people that come fix your house, they can't work from home, but you can. Does that seem morally right? That's messed up. Elon Musk is definitely not a fan of remote work. He wants to see it end completely. He's now referred to that remote workers as the laptop class. I'm curious about your reaction to that.
My thought is there are certain roles that you do have to come into the office, but I think if you still have that option of having some flexibility in the workforce, as we talked about earlier, it's a very competitive market out there as far as attracting talent. So every organization's needs are going to be different. And for us to share bold statements like that this is the only way that you're going to operate your business, that might work for you, but that might not necessarily work in a different industry or in a very specific organization like mine. So I would say it would just depend on the needs of the organization and how you're structured as well.
Phil, did he just say it depends? I agree.
I think he did, but Bert, he's, you've got a lot of influence on our listeners with it depends. And I've come to terms with working remotely and I've solved the equation. And let me share it with you. We've adopted a hybrid schedule here at AIM, and you work in the office on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then you can work from home on Saturday and Sunday. Problem solved. All right, let's get to the last question with our guest here, Julio from LaunchCode. So happy to have him on the program. Of the workforce working remotely on average, how many days per week? Again, because of what we just had on the last result, the large majority of these it doesn't apply to, but 2 days a week followed by 5 or more. And I agree with you. It does all depend on the profession, the job. I agree with where Elon is coming from. I agree with what your comments were, Julio. I like my formula. If anyone needs it, I can send the math to you. It really works quite simply Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you work from home on Saturday and Sunday. It's just, to me, it seems like it works really well for us here at AIM. Julio Govreau, thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate all the good work that you do at LaunchCode and in the HR community at large. Bert, wonderful to have you back in town and coming off the heels of a great conference out in California. I look forward to some of the guests that you mingled with, maybe joining the program in the future, and we will be back here next Thursday at 7:30. We'll see you then. Until then, go out and be good to people.
Thank you once again for tuning in to This Week at Work. If you enjoy the show, please share it with your colleagues. Forward our invites. Share the link, aimea.org/thisweekatwork, or follow or subscribe wherever you get your news and entertainment, like LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere you are. And you can be part of the show. Send your questions and comments anytime to info@thisweek.work. We'll see you next week, 7:30 a.m. Central Time, when we discuss what's happening this week at work.